Hey everybody, welcome back to Tim Travels. It's Terry, your host. So I am here I'm actually in Ellsworth, Maine, which is not on Mount Desert Island, which is where I've been for the past few days. Mount Desert Island is the island that is home to most of Acadia National Park. There is one section that's actually off the island, and you kind of got to go around to the north to get to it. But I've been out here since Wednesday. It's Saturday. And also Bar Harbor, which is a town you may have heard of, is on Mount Desert Island. But I'm gonna, normally I like narrate stuff, but I gotta say, this is the first time that I've come up here to Acadia National Park. I'm actually leaving a day early, and I'll explain why in a second. But most of this video is just gonna be, pictures that I took, and this is one of those places where almost every picture you take is like a postcard. And I'm sharing this just because I like to share stuff like that, but also just to persuade you to come up here. I actually dropped at the Walmart distribution center in Lewiston, Maine. I drove up here bobtail, and there's a lot of campers up here and stuff, but like the campground that my wife and our friends were staying at was, they were nice and let me park my truck in one of their kind of areas where their landscapers work, and it was just great. We actually stayed down in Bass Harbor, which is kind of like the quieter side of the island. Bar Harbor is kind of a hopping town. In fact, it's so like hopping that there were two actually very big cruise ships. I've seen enormous cruise ships in my life in different places around the Caribbean and stuff, but I was surprised at how big the ships were that pulled into Bar Harbor the other day. But yeah, this was just a great spot. I drove by a place just a little while ago, had the 3-day forecast. It was like sunny and 79, sunny and 79, sunny and 79. The weather has been spectacular. It's rained a little bit at night. Nothing, not even hard, like almost like a gentle sprinkle. But I just wanted to share this with you, and I'll come back and update you on why I'm actually leaving a day early. But enjoy the photos. I'm not the best at it, but I think you'll get a sense of how nice it is out here, and what a great place to come it is. So anyway, enjoy this, and I'll be back in a little bit. All right, back with you. So I went and picked up a load over in, I think it's pronounced Skowhegan. A lot of prime trucks over there. It was just a hook. I was allowed to bobtail over there. So that's going out to Ohio. But so I'll back up a little bit here. A week ago Wednesday, I was out in Salt Lake City, and I was working out. I had just erged for a few minutes, and the day before I had erged, then I'd run some, what I think the kids would call pacers, just back and forth in the gym. Ran a few of those, and then I used the ski machine that's there in the gym, by the basketball court. So I was like, oh, that was a pretty good workout, right? I got a lot of air exchange going on, and it's at altitude a little bit. So I was like, well, I'll just do a little bit more of each thing tomorrow, and then then I'm going to get on the road, because the next day I went and picked up a load down in Springfield, came back to the terminal because I wasn't in a super big rush, and that load was going to Ohio. And even though I came back and just kind of hung out and worked out and stuff, I still got it there like 26 hours early when I dropped in Ohio. But anyway, I did my erging, and if you don't know what erging is, it's the rowing machine, right? It's the Concept 2 rowing machine. It's called an ergometer, not a rowing machine. That's why it's called erging. Anyway, so I did my erging. I got up. I went to the end of the wall, and I started running back and forth. And I was on like my third leg, and I felt this pretty substantial pain and weakness in my left leg, and like my knee. Now, a few years ago, I was racing one of my kids, one of my daughters, and I kind of just like strained every like ligament and tendon in my leg, and it was like, I mean, from my butt cheek to my Achilles was like black and blue. And in fact, when it happened, I just went down in a heap. And the worst part about that was I lost the race. But going back even farther, the leg that I have the problem with now, I had a meniscus tear in, and I had it operated on when I was in the Navy. And that was like 28, almost 29 years ago. So, now it's been like 10 days, but I have not seen any discoloration, but I've had a lot of swelling, a lot of pain, and I'm pretty sure that I have torn that meniscus again. And because when the first time it happened, it was like a perpendicular kind of tear from, like I think they call it a radial tear, because that's what a straight line is going into the middle of a circle. So a radial tear maybe. And they just cut out like a half moon shape, roughed it up so it would kind of like get a little blood flow, and shot up a couple of ligaments with cortisone. And then 7 days later, I was back to work, done with convalescent leave. I've run thousands of miles on that leg since. And so anyway, so I come up here and meet up with my wife, but I can't stand to like be on the sideline most of the time. So I still went cycling on gravel. We went on our tandem, and some of the pictures you saw were of Eagle Lake. We went around there. We went hiking, and that's where a lot of those pictures are, like higher up. And my knee is, kind of hurting. So I was going to stay till tomorrow, but I sent a message and I said, hey, I need to go to the doctor. And so I made an appointment for Monday, and that's kind of what this load's not a great paying load, but it gets me out of Maine. I'm going to run down to probably Pittston tonight, stay over there, and then go the rest of the way home. And so I'll get home sometime tomorrow on Sunday, and my wife's going to be back tomorrow evening, I think. And then Monday early afternoon, I have a doctor's appointment, and Unfortunately, I have good insurance, but it's one of those setups where I don't care. Your guts could be spilling out, and they'll be like, well, you need to go to your primary care provider first before we refer you to anybody. Because when I call them, I'm like, look, I'm pretty sure this is what has happened, and even if I'm wrong, I still need to see some sawbones, some orthopedic surgeon, because there's something wrong. But I'm going to have to go to my primary care. What I'm hoping is that she will at least jack me up on some cortisone where I can reduce some of that inflammation and stuff and just kind of hang in there until I get my son finished with PSD and with TNT, and we also have a family vacation coming up where we're going up to Vermont with the whole family to celebrate our 30th anniversary. So I want to get through all that. Now you say, well, dude, that's crazy, like you're gonna need to get this fixed. I will say this, and I'm not saying I'm the man I once was, but when I had that meniscus tear before, I tore it in November, and I didn't get it operated on until the following April. And my justification was I wanted to wait until after the April semi-annual PRT, because I didn't want to be on limited duty. And so I waited until after I ran the PRT, then got it operated on, and I knew I would be able to be back up to speed, kind of literally and figuratively, by the October PRT. So anyway, that's what's going on with me, but I had a great time in Maine. And here's the thing, here's the point about all this, really. Sometimes we have opportunities because of our schedule or because where we're dropping or something to go to these really, really cool places. And if you're a lease operator, I talked about PC, right? You're a lease operator, you're paying for the fuel, you're paying, for excess mileage. Just say, hey, I'm gonna go an hour and a half to this really awesome place and take a couple 3 days off and enjoy it. The campground we were at, they were like, yeah, you can park your truck here. But I guess if I wanted to rent a space, because the place we were at was really quiet. I mean, last night, it's Friday night, 9:30. I'm not a huge fan of parks that have RVs in them, because people tend to be noisy. Like they just bring their whole freaking household in a smaller version, right? Like they got their TVs and all this other crap, and it's, they're noisy, they got music and whatever. But this place, so where we were was just tent campers and tents, and then there were some cabins. And on the other side of the bathhouse was where the bigger RVs were, but it was so quiet. I even commented to the group, I said, it's like 9:30 on a Friday night, it's pitch black, we had a fire going, no noise at all, like no music, nobody being loud. It was awesome. And yeah, it was a great place. And I was going to do Ragbri next year. Not last year. I was going to do Ragbri next year, and I may just come up here because there's so much cycling available, both gravel and on all the roads around the island, the roads in the park, as well as just all the roads. But this is a great, I'm more than impressed. There's a couple of public golf courses. If you want to stay in a hotel, you can do that. If you want to camp, you can do that. And even if you're like, oh, I'm going to use my truck as a camper, which I really didn't do because we had our Sprinter up there, but you could easily do it, because all you would need to do is, they're not going to like it if you run your APU 24/7. But if you get in a site that has, electricity, all you have to do is have an extension cord, because I have like a power strip down here, right? So I have my fridge, and I can plug my microwave into it. Well, actually, I have the fridge directly into the inverter, but I could plug, I plug in like my cell phone charger, other stuff, whatever I need to plug into the power strip. But all I would need is like a 25-foot extension cord. I could run it out. I could actually run it down through if I really wanted to get ambitious, right out to that power source. It's like 30 amps or whatever, 20 amps. I could power up everything inside my truck without using my APU. And this area is cool enough that if you just had the windows open on the top bunk and the bottom bunk, like if you have a Freightliner, you know the windows I'm talking about, and after dark it cools off, there's a little bit of a breeze. It is perfect sleeping weather. And like I said, the place we're at, no noise. Not even people with like, their campsites lit up like a runway like you see sometimes. It was, it was beyond my expectations, and just a great area. If you like ice cream, I ate a lot of ice cream because there was a lot of great ice cream places. But yeah, just anything you could think of that you would want to do, I think you could find it. Hiking, cycling, sightseeing, just some everywhere you look, postcards. Shopping, really, if you're kind of a foodie, a lot of really, really cool restaurants. Of course, tons of places that serve lobster. We went out for lobster last night. It was great. I can't say enough about it. But the other thing that I've told people is, like if you're in Williams, Arizona, right, and you've never been to the Grand Canyon, there's a train. You could walk down the street from the Love's truck stop there and catch a train to the Grand Canyon. But, or, maybe rent a car if you got extra time. But use, I'm a big advocate of using what's there, and go find something, go see something, go do something that's really cool. When you don't have a trailer on your back, that's a golden opportunity to go do something. And you're like, well, I don't want to put the miles on the truck and the fuel. First of all, what I just did, and this is important point, I think. What I just did is irreplaceable. Like, you can't ever take that from me. Yeah, I put, an extra 150 miles on the truck. So what? I bought a few, that for me, especially bobtail, that's like maybe 10 gallons of fuel, because it's like when you're bobtail and you're not like drag racing people, you just, you don't use a lot of fuel. My historical average is 9.3. Bobtail, I'm probably getting 12 to 15 miles to the gallon. I'm getting more than these guys. Guy just pulled in with a fifth wheel on the back of his GMC pickup. I bet my mileage bobtail is as good or better than his. So you only live once. I'm not saying be a psycho, because I don't use YOLO as a reason to like do crazy stuff. But you only live once, and if you're doing this job, use it to your advantage, right? You get to see things that millions of people will never see in their lives. And you could just expand your horizons and stuff. I think that's one of the great things about this job. But even, even if you were into if you were just like, no, I want to go to like a country club and play golf, and I want to have like a luxury spa like vacation, that you could do it out there. There are horseback riding. There's rentals for everything. Sea kayaks. If you want to go watch puffins on a little island, or seals, all of that stuff. I'm sure there's whale watching, but just endless possibilities. Now, the only thing I will say is, if you hate seafood, this might not be for you, because I was at a restaurant last night and I watched this couple, and this was a lobster pound. That's what they call them. So crab shacks, lobster pounds. And I think the pound, actually, because all the lobsters, like the standard is £1.25 pounds. Anyway, this one couple was there, and they ordered, like, you know, it was a lobster pound, but they had a very eclectic menu, and food was all good. But like, the woman got a burger, and the guy, I don't know, he got like some, like, I don't know, fish and chips or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, you know, you get what you want, right? But this was a lobster place. I mean, if you've never done that, it's kind of an interesting experience. But anyway, thanks for watching. I'm gonna get back to some trucking stuff. There's some interesting stuff going on. I might do another video later just to catch people up on some stuff. But also, there's the way the economy's going, there's some cautionary tales, and I'm gonna throw some information out that I hope will keep somebody from ending up super unhappy and maybe out of business. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next time.